excited to do part 2 from the same spot. Car park, not a car ride. But I'm also going to be looking at something to help me remember where we are on Tuesday. I told you about the fig tree. Jesus is coming back in on Tuesday to Jerusalem, and there's several things that he's doing. But one of the big things is that the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the religious leaders of the day, are questioning Jesus' authority, saying, "Who are you?" This is the question they've been asking the whole time. Who are you? Jesus is the Son of God, the Messiah, the one who was promised, the one who all the Old Testament prophecies have prophesied about, the ones in which all of them are fulfilled. That's who Jesus is. And so all the religious leaders are asking him, those that have all the appearance of being connected to God but aren't, just like the fig tree from earlier. Please remember that. All of a sudden, Jesus begins to tell parables about stories that help them see who they are. Once you know who Jesus is, then you begin to see who you are, and he begins to tell them parables about the parable of the 2 sons. And we see how that indicts the Pharisees, because they realize he's talking about them. The parable of the vine dresser, parable of the wedding feast, and we see all these things in Matthew 21, 22, 24, and 25. We see it in Mark 11 and 12, and we see it in Luke 21 and 20. I don't know why I said 21 before 20, but I did. And we see all these parables that he is speaking to the people, showing them who they are. And then after this, we begin to see Jesus leaves Jerusalem and goes back to the Mount of Olives. And Jesus is beginning to speaking to his disciples and those gathered around him about the parables of the end times. So he's telling them through parables. Jesus is saying on Tuesday night, he's saying, listen, I'm going to leave. He isn't specifically, I'm going to die and then be resurrected at this point, but he's like, I'm going to leave for a prolonged period of time. Are you going to be ready when I come back? And so Jesus talks about the parable of the 10 virgins and the parable of the talents and the parable of the sheep of goats, asking everybody the question, saying, I'm leaving. Will you be ready for me when I come back? I came as a suffering servant this time. I'm going to leave. I'm going to ascend into heaven. And when I come back, I'm coming back as a warring king. And how will I find you? That's the question. How will I find you? When I come back as a warring king, how will I find you? Will I find you faithful, serving me, ready at any time for me to return because you love me and have a relationship with me? Or will I find you being distracted by all the mess around you and all the mess the world seems to offer you? Will I find you pursuing those things, or will I find you pursuing me? And that's the question that Jesus ends with on Tuesday. Will you be ready when I come again? Or will you let the world take your fancy? Or will your eyes be fixated on me? And will you be ready when I return? And the answer to that is we should always be ready, because our lives are living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. I pray that as we go through this Passion Week, you're asking yourself those questions. Am I a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, ready when Christ returns? Because I should be ready all the time, because I have a relationship with him who connects me to the Father, and I'm producing the fruit of the Spirit. Tuesday's a big day. I hope you're ready.